You already know you think too much. You've been told, you've felt it. And right now, reading this sentence, your brain is already deciding whether this video is worth your time. And you're aware of it doing that. Yeah, this one's for you. Here's something backwards about people who think too much. You're usually the sharpest one in the room. You catch what everyone else misses. You read people before they've said a word. You're 3 steps ahead of the conversation. And you're also quietly exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from a mind that won't power down, even when everything around you is calm and there's nothing left to solve. Here's the part that won't make sense yet. The exact thing that's draining you is the same thing that's been protecting you this whole time. And by the end of this, you'll understand why your brain refuses to stop and why there are 2 completely different kinds of overthinkers. I want to know which one you are. So here's what's actually happening. Most people think overthinking means you're anxious, negative, or worrying too much. It doesn't. At its core, overthinking usually comes down to one thing your mind can't stand: not knowing. Psychologists call this intolerance of uncertainty, and people who think too much tend to have an unusually low tolerance for unanswered questions, an unread reply, a conversation that ended on a strange note, someone who suddenly starts acting differently. To most people, that's just life. To you, it's an open question your brain keeps trying to close. So get this straight first. You were never addicted to worrying. You're allergic to the unknown. The thinking was never the goal. Certainty was. And certainty is the one thing the world almost never hands you, which leads to something fascinating. Back in the 1920s, psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something strange. People remembered unfinished tasks far better than finished ones. The moment something stays incomplete, the brain quietly refuses to let it go. Psychologists now call this the Zeigarnik Effect. Now imagine what that means for someone who overthinks. Every unresolved conversation, every what did they actually mean by that, every decision you still haven't made, your brain logs each one as an open loop. Most people carry a few, you carry hundreds. That low hum you feel at the end of the day, the tiredness sleep doesn't completely fix, it isn't because something is wrong with you. It's the sound of a mind that never gets to close a single tab. But if it's this exhausting, why can't you just stop? Here's the part that feels almost unfair. Every time your mind circles one of those open loops and gets close to an answer, almost figuring it out, almost deciding, almost understanding what they meant, your brain rewards you, not for solving it, for getting close, which is why you go back again and again. It's remarkably similar to what keeps someone pulling the handle on a slot machine that almost pays out. Your brain isn't broken for refusing to let go. It's being rewarded little by little for staying engaged. And none of this usually starts in adulthood. For many overthinkers, it began somewhere. A child couldn't quite predict what was coming next. Maybe home felt emotionally unpredictable. Maybe moods changed without warning. Maybe you learned to recognize footsteps in the hallway, to watch faces, to notice tiny shifts before anyone else did. A child in that world discovers something incredibly smart. If I can see it coming, maybe I can stay safe. So you became a forecaster. You got frighteningly good at running every possible outcome before it happened. And it worked. It protected you. Which means your overthinking isn't a flaw that appeared out of nowhere. It's a survival skill that became so effective, your brain never deleted it. The only problem is that no one ever told it the danger was over. So today it still runs every possible outcome over one text message while standing in a grocery line. Because someone replied with, "Okay," because your boss sounded slightly different than yesterday, because someone paused for 1 second longer than usual before answering you. Which brings us to the 2 kinds of overthinkers. Some of you are forecasters. Your mind lives in the future. Before you've even made the phone call, you've already imagined 5 different conversations. The version where it goes perfectly, the version where it becomes awkward, and the version where everything falls apart. You've already lived them all before dialing the number. The rest of you are replayers. Your mind lives in the past. You said one slightly awkward sentence at 2 in the afternoon, and now it's 9 at night. You're standing in front of your bathroom mirror delivering the perfect version of that conversation for the 3rd time. polishing a moment that everyone else forgot hours ago. Most overthinkers do both. Forecast all day, replay all night, but almost everyone leans one direction. Hold on to yours. I'm asking you at the end. Now here's the hidden trap underneath all of this. It isn't the thinking, it's what you believe about thinking. Psychologists call this metacognition, your beliefs about your own thoughts. And for most overthinkers, one belief quietly runs the whole system. Thinking means progress. Imagine someone who's lost their keys. They check the same empty pocket, then check it again and again. Not because they truly believe the keys appeared there, but because stopping feels worse than checking one more time. That's exactly what your brain does with unanswered questions. It keeps reaching into the same mental pocket, hoping this time the answer will finally be there. But some pockets are simply empty. Some questions don't get solved by more thinking. They get decided, they get felt, or they get gently set down. And here's something psychology has found that's easy to miss. The very system that makes you overthink is also the system that makes you incredibly perceptive. You notice tiny shifts in someone's voice. You catch expressions other people miss. You feel the emotional temperature of a room before anyone says anything. The exhaustion and the perception aren't separate traits. They're the same engine. You don't get one without the other, which makes the next part almost cruel. You use all of that understanding for everyone else. You'll spend 40 minutes on the phone talking a friend out of believing they're a burden, finding the exact words, the right tone, walking them gently back to themselves. Then you hang up and you lie in bed, convincing yourself that you are one. Same mind, two completely different rule books. So if any of this sounds familiar, hear this clearly. You're not broken, you're not unstable, you are not too much. You have a mind that learned a very long time ago to stay awake because staying awake once kept you safe. And no one ever told it that it was finally allowed to rest. The goal was never to shut your mind off. A mind like yours was never built to be empty. The goal is simply to stop treating every unanswered question like an emergency, to leave a few loops open, to trust that uncertainty isn't the same thing as danger, because maybe that's the quiet truth underneath all of this. Every one of us is still running pieces of code we wrote as children, in moments we never chose, just to survive the world we were given. You don't erase that code overnight, but understanding it changes the relationship you have with it, and sometimes that understanding is where healing quietly begins. Your thinking kept you safe once. It doesn't have to run the night shift anymore. So tell me, forecaster or replayer, one word, drop it below. I read every single one. And if your mind has already rewritten your comment 3 different times before posting it, yeah, this one was for you.